All right, so we have just built the recipe for the Coca-Cola list page that included all sorts of links to the individual details pages, as well as the basic information that we could find on the front end, the title, description, date, and image link. So let's look at the details pages for Coca-Cola in their media center. Again, knowing that, so here I'm just clicking on Media Center, knowing that there's a great amount of variability between the various pages. Some of them have videos, some of them have images. In order to build a consistent scraper, we are just going to stick with getting as much text as we can. And I want to emphasize that, again, this is just the nature of the website that we're trying to scrape. It just doesn't have a consistent details page. So we'll just try to get as much information as we can, and then we need to evaluate ourselves. Is this problematic? Are we missing too much information or not? Let's see what we can do. So what I would recommend here is let's start with the most simple that we can deal with, which is no images, no videos, and let's just build a simple details page for just getting the title, the date, and the text. So to do that, let's open up Data Miner. Make our own recipe for a details page. Now remember, we don't need to select the rows because there's only going to be one row for each details page. So let's do a column for title, date, and text. And this is going to be pretty easy. See, found it. And there's only one row. Got it. Let's do date. Remember, we're going to also have this information in the list page as well. It's going to be the same, but it's good to have the information in both spreadsheets in case we want to merge them later or something. You want to keep track of having a title for each element from the list page, and then of course having our title in the details page so that we know what the details are actually corresponding to. In our case, the details are going to be this, this text. So let's see, we might be able to get some more information like the city. Let's just probe around and see what we can get. Okay. Let's check the code and see how this looks on the back end. This might be something that's consistent across the various pages. So again, what happened was I opened up developer tools for Data Miner. So I had to click into the Coca-Cola page. All right, so let's see what we're working with here. All right, we've got a div here. So we have div text. I'm trying to see if there's a special tag for city or some. We've got P. No, this B tag just means bold. So what that means is that we could, in theory, extract anything that's in bold. Now, what we can check is see, do other details pages also list the city in bold? Let's open up a few of them. Okay, here we have Atlanta. Here we have something in bold, but it's just the date. So this isn't something that's consistent. Let's grab it anyway, just for kicks. And we'll call this city, because we're going to assume that if there is a bold tag there, it's going to include the city and also this date, June 17th. So, and you'll see, oh, maybe it's on my head. Let me move this. You'll see that Data Miner is picking up two bolds. And it's picking up Atlanta, August 14th, which is this one over here. But it's also asking if we want this bold, about the Coca-Cola company. I don't want that. I just want the city. I'll confirm. And then I want to get the actual text chunk. So I'll call this, let's call it text. Easy column finder. Now, if I look in the code, you'll see that these are not the same, they're not in the same tag. They're separated by a P, which is paragraph. And that makes sense, right? There's a paragraph here and a paragraph here, another paragraph down here. And that's what all these different P tags are. Here's paragraph 1, well, going in reverse order. This is paragraph 1. This is paragraph 2. It actually has this as a third paragraph, and there's our second B tag about the Coca-Cola company. It's in bold. And then we have this. So what this means, unfortunately, is that we're only going to be able to grab the first paragraph for all of the details pages. Why is that? Because we can't really, we could, in theory, have, we could make a column for paragraph 1 and a column for paragraph 2 and a column for paragraph 3, and then we'd only get the first 3 paragraphs for each page. Let me do that just as an example. So we'll call this paragraph 1, and then I'll show you why this isn't so useful. Press C, and I want the first paragraph. It's going to include my bold tag, which is fine. And then I could do paragraph 2, go to this one. Select the company invites investors to join a webcast. It's the same as here. And now the third paragraph is actually this here. And that's kind of why this isn't very useful, because if I skip and I say, I want this to be the third paragraph, then when I apply this recipe to other pages, it's going to skip the actual third paragraph. Here, it's just a header, it's not that interesting. but what we're telling data miner to do is take the first 3 paragraphs on every details page. And in this case, it's not very useful because the 3rd paragraph is just about the Coca-Cola company. So what I'm trying to say is that however we program the scraper for this details page, it's not going to interpret in another details page. Let's say we have another details page that's the exact same as this one, just with different text. And because we don't want this 3rd paragraph on this page, if we go to another page, maybe this 3rd paragraph is actually all this information. It's just programmed differently. Then data miner is not going to basically look at this like a human and say, okay, I can tell the recipe wants all the substantial text. It's just going to take the first 3 paragraphs, no matter what they are. So this is not going to be a very useful scraper because we're going to get the first 3 paragraphs and we don't know what the first 3 paragraphs are across different details pages. That's what we're going to find out in a second. But let's save this scraper just for kicks. We'll call this Coke details. And now we can scrape. And I just want to spend a couple seconds on these 2 different options, new scrape and scrape and append. So when we do new scrape, it's only going to get the 1 page that we're on actively with data miner. When we press scrape and append or choose this option, it's going to allow us to copy this recipe to other pages and add them to the spreadsheet. But let's say we start over. We have our first page. Now we can navigate to another page, vitamin water. And here we have this tagline that wasn't there before. And our scraper is actually going to pick this up as a paragraph. So we scrape and append. See how the data has been added as a 2nd row. If we look at how the paragraphs worked across the 2 pages, you'll see that we have missing data. The details page recipe that we just wrote with paragraph 1, 2, and 3, I can already see that it's not working well because these pages are different. Vitamin water has this little piece of text that is throwing off the scraper. Let's try it on another one, just as an example. Scrape and append. So it's getting some information, but it's not getting the city, which is not here in bold as it was on other pages. Okay, on this page, it looks like it worked pretty well, but we could keep going and we'll see that already we need to do some work here on our missing data because we don't know what we're missing. So let's go back and see if we can find a better way than these 3 paragraphs and try to just get all the text on the page. So if we go to, let's go back to our first, the example we've been working with, this Coca-Cola page. And I go down to the text, right? I'm trying to kind of see what's going on with my paragraph 1, 2, and 3. Before we were looking at, it's up here. This one's a bit tricky. Right, we were looking at these paragraphs before. Paragraph 1, 2, 3. I can actually see up here that there is all the text on this website. And you'll see the box is drawn around it. So once again, this is an issue of different levels or sizes of boxes. So I'm going to go back to my recipe, get rid of these 3 paragraphs. They didn't work out across the details pages. And I'm going to see if I can grab just this chunk of huge text. So let me go to my recipe. And edit Coke details. Right here are all the different things I filled in before. And I can just delete these, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to keep them, and I'm going to name this one text. Now I will go to Easy Column Finder. And before I was hitting C on these individual paragraphs, but it's easy to miss that there's also a whole box. I can hit C, and now I actually have all of the text on the page. So this works great. Actually, I am going to delete these just because it's going to create a messy spreadsheet when I try to show it. All right, so now we'll save our recipe name, Coke details, scrape in data miner, go to page scrape, and then let's test it first with new scrape. So we got all the text on the page. Going down to LinkedIn, and you see LinkedIn over here. So we got all of this. That's good. So we'll do scrape and append. Well, let's just restart. Always a good idea to just go with a blank slate. So we'll scrape this page. Now we'll go to a different page. We know the vitamin water one is different. So just to test it out, scrape and append. So now it starts with brand launches contest. That's this here. And it captures all the text of the article, right, down to LinkedIn. And then it even gets the contact information as well. So this looks like it's a much better way to get the text that's consistent. Let's try it on the Fanta one. Scrape and append. Here's the Fanta column, and it's giving us all the way down to Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers Pictures. So with this recipe, we can, I'll just add one more. You always want to be constantly checking, is what I'm doing giving me the data that I want? And so maybe even 4 pages is too little. I might go and maybe get 10, 15 to see that, all right, every time I apply this details page, I'm getting all the text. Otherwise, something is wrong, and I would go back and try to see if I could change the recipe to capture even more text. But this one works. And you'll see that when I download this CSV file, And when we open up the file, we'll see that, and this will depend on whether you're using Google Sheets or Excel and which version of Excel. So you may not see it just like this for differences in software between us. But if this does happen to you, where you have these really big columns because there's a lot of text, you can just click this little square to highlight everything and then just move up. And then you have more of a neatly formatted spreadsheet. And we'll see that, yes, all of the text is captured. And here's how you can collect a lot of data really quickly, right? I could just keep appending, adding more details pages to this and build a large data set. But I have to keep going back and forth between different pages. And adding them to data miner. Now, one other thing to note in this spreadsheet is that we are missing data for the city in some cases. And remember, that's because not every article has the city. So I would actually throw this out as well. Anything where you're not capturing data consistently across the pages, when you have blanks in an Excel sheet, that's a sign that something is up and you can't really trust any type of analysis with that item because I don't know the city in row 4. So I would either remove that from an analysis or just not worry about cities at all, which would be the preferred option in this case, or what I'd recommend. So we've seen how scraping and appending can be quite a manual process. In this last part here, I'm going to talk about a crawl scrape, which is a little bit more advanced. You won't have to do it for this assignment. And it's something that we can really just set up here because if you want to use it with Data Miner, you'll have to upgrade your plan for a month to do it. So let's see. And again, the idea is that we've collected lists of links in the last video. We can upload this file into Data Miner and then tell Data Miner to apply our Coke details recipe to all of the links in the Excel file. So this will basically automatically do the process of us going back and forth between the pages, which is quite good. And one thing, let me open up the file that we did last class with the list page of Coca-Colas. So I've just opened up that file that we made last time called the Coca-Cola list recipe. And these are the URLs that we are going to tell Data Miner to go and automatically pull information for. The one thing I'm worried about here is that, remember that this link on its own, it needs to have the Coca-Cola company before it. So let me just leave Data Miner for a second to show you that this link's not going to work unless we have Coca-Cola-company.com. So I'm going to try to upload this document into the wall scrape, the crawl scrape, sorry, and see if it works, but it might not. So let me open up Data Miner. and select crawl scrape here. And you'll see that it's a premium feature, but you can learn it, or you can use it for a few pages just to see how it, what type of data it will generate. The first thing we need to do is we need to actually upload our file with the links into Data Miner. And the way we do that is we go to Uploaded Files, click Upload New File, and we'll put in our Coca-Cola list recipe. Here we see that Data Miner reads it in, it sees it. Now we can use it for our crawl scrape. So our first step is to start the process by clicking New. We're going to click Imported CSV File, the one we just uploaded, Coca-Cola list recipe. And then it's going to ask us which column contains the URLs. In our spreadsheet, what is the name of where the URLs are? For us, it's details link. This brings us the information we want. And it's telling us it's not a valid URL. It's missing that Coca-Cola-company.com part before it. So we have two options here. We can either go back to the recipe and find the full link on the site. It's somewhere in the back-end code. We can go and dig for it. That's going to take a little bit of time. What we can also do is, because we know we're just missing the Coca-Cola-company.com part, we can just try to add that to the front of the link. And so we can do that in Excel fairly easily. All right, I'm just going to delete the image URL because it's looking confusing. Here we just have our the links we're interested in. So what we can do is we can just replace this part, or any part, but /media, and add our Coca-Cola-company.com. And I'll show you how to do this. The first thing we need to do is search for /media and replace media with our link up here. Just to make sure I have it highlighted. So I'm just going to replace all instances of this word, this combination of letters, with the front of the link. Hit replace all. And now we have the full links. And we should check to see if this works. Perfect. So now we're going to save this file, upload it into Data Miner, import it into our crawl, and tell Data Miner, go to these links. And we've checked to make sure they worked. That's very important because there's a lot of cases where, you may copy one more letter than you need, and it's going to throw off the whole link. It won't work. So you want to check your links before you autofill everything in the spreadsheet. So we're going to save this, go back to Data Miner. Scrape page. Whoop. Uploaded files. It's easy to forget this step. So we've got our new CSV. Here we've got our updated and working links. Now we can go to crawl scrape, start a new crawl, imported CSV file, the one we just saved. And then it's asking us which column contains the URLs. Remember, it's details link. So once we select that, we ask Data Miner to check it. It's basically going to do what we just did and see if it actually works with on the web. Is it a working link? Yes, they are because we checked them. So now it's going to ask us, what is the recipe that we want to put on all these links? And for our example here, it's going to be Coke details, right? The one we made that captured all the text. Then we go to next step. And these are just settings that you can filter around with if you've upgraded your plan. The most important one would be the range. So it's just going to do a test of 3 for us on this plan. But if you upgrade, you can add more rows and links to scrape. So that's how you really start building a really large database. But we can test it here with 3. And we can also build in our wait time between each URL. Remember, that's important to kind of give the server some space and not detect you as or misinterpret you as a hacking attack. And most importantly, we have to hit start crawl to make it work. And now it's running, and we can check the progress here at the bottom of the page. You'll see a blue bar start to appear, letting us know how much percentage we're finished. But we'll see here that it's launched. And now we see that it scraped 1 page. And now it's going to be waiting 6, 8 seconds, giving some time between the links to move. I would say in general, 3 seconds is the minimum you want to have. And so you'll see that it's going from vitamin water to vitamin water. Now it's going to move to Coca-Cola and Oreo brand. And where did my data miner go? Here it is. What we can do now that the scraper is finished is we can download our results. And this is giving us our spreadsheet as well as some information about did it work? Yes, okay. Here's row of 1. Now, for some reason, we're getting this extra information. How I would deal with this is just download the file. Here's called crawl. I could rename it. And we'll see that we get our title, date, city, which we should have thrown out, but all of the text. I would just basically delete all of this. And now I have the spreadsheet. So again, that's a little more advanced, but the advantage is we've extracted links, and then we could set Data Miner to scrape 200, 300, 400, 500 pages and build that into a large database. But that's a little bit more advanced web scraping. This course has really been about the basics. And in the next tutorial, we'll put everything together and do the whole process from front to end. And also I'll do another crawl scrape at the end so you can see that process again. But that's it, and I'll see you in the third tutorial.